Hello and welcome to my top 10 games of 2019 countdown list. Before we get started, I have a quick disclaimer. First of all, this list is completely subjective and does not reflect the winners of the actual game awards. This list is purely for fun and means absolutely nothing to anyone but me. Secondly, remasters and re-releases are ineligible as episodic games that are unfinished. Remakes, however, are now okay as long as they were rebuilt from the ground up. Also, a new addition to this year's list will be categorical awards. Specific category awards such as Best RPG or Best Acting given to each game on the list. Only one can be the Game of the Year, but everyone is a winner this time. Thanks for watching and enjoy.
ID code confirmed. Starting up. Core released. Engaging asset protocol. Stabilized. Asset protocol complete. Chained Legion.
Platinum Games is at it again. It was only 2 years ago that we were blessed with the existential crisis causing Nier Automata, and now Platinum is back with another game that actually pales in comparison from a narrative perspective. But you know what it does have? That telltale Platinum Games combat. Astral Chain is a game where you play as one of two detectives that work for a government agency just slightly above the police. The one that you don't choose ends up being your sibling. And you work with an elite force of detectives that are all in ownership of these creatures called legions, monsters that invaded our land from space. Some of them were able to be captured and tamed, and they work alongside these detectives, forever chained to them with a device that gives them control. But when something goes horribly wrong, and everyone's legion but yours disconnects and turns evil, it's up to you, and you alone, to hunt them all down and bring them back to the side of good, while simultaneously trying to put an end to this chaos altogether. Astral Chain is a fun hack-and-slash game with a unique dual-character combat system. No other game that I've played this year has allowed me to pull off these crazy type of attack combos while controlling two characters at once. The chain that connects you and your legion can be used as a weapon as well. You can use it to bind enemies and temporarily stun them, or trip them up when they use a charge attack, and you can throw your legion out and bring it back to you like a blade-covered yo-yo. When you're not hacking and slashing at demonic entities, however, you're running around the towns looking for clues and solving crimes, doing minor side quests, and you can even pick up people's garbage and throw it away if you wanted extra good boy points. If I had to pick my absolute favorite thing about this game, though, it would definitely be the music that plays at the headquarters. Overall, Astral Chain is a fantastic hack-and-slash RPG with some mild puzzle solving and logic-based side quests. It oozes to the brim with Platinum Games' signature combat style, but it's definitely not the best story they've ever written. I would also like to recognize this game for being, in my personal opinion, the best Nintendo Switch exclusive to come out this year. Sorry, Fire Emblem, you were just a little too fetch questy for me.
Oh, it can't be! How could you, Marie? I never knew the difference. Nothing? Huh. Okay.
I'm so happy it's Friday, right?
Thank God I don't have to do my kegels.
Holy shit! Are you? What's happening to you okay? Or...
Lola, is this a...
Oh, look at them! They still think they're alive! They think they're alive!
From the makers of Oxenfree, a game about a bunch of teenagers going to an island with ghosts from a war that trap them in a time loop, comes After Party, a game about two college kids who die and go to hell and have to out-party Satan to get their life back. Yep. This is by far one of the funniest games I have ever played. After Party hit me as a complete surprise. In fact, I actually had my top 10 list ready to go before I started playing this game. Then I started playing it, and I had to go back and make changes so that this one could be on the list. Sorry, Jedi Fallen Order, but you got bumped down. If you ever played or watched Oxenfree, After Party will feel familiar in a lot of ways. It's basically a side-scrolling, narrative-focused game with dialogue options that pop up in the form of speech bubbles that you're allowed to choose from. However, this game has a little bit of an extra twist with the inclusion of drinks. At the bars of hell, you can get drinks for free, I might add, that unlock a third drunken dialogue option for your character depending on the type of drink you consumed. These options can be flirty, they can be courageous, they can be douchey, and any kind of number of things in between. But the basic premise of the game is that you have to be able to outdrink and outparty Satan in order to get your life back.
You got lucky in hell once a century, so I hope that was worth it.
The game has multiple endings, some of them happy, some of them not happy, but it definitely feels like one of those ones that's more about the journey than the destination, as this game has a huge and heavy focus on comedy, with some great and memorable one-liners.
Okay, this is novel, you two going together. Normally that's reserved for murder-suicides and moms with albino sons.
And yeah, the humor can get a little juvenile at times.
Now, for robbing all those liquor stores, Dev will be suspended from a pole by his genitals.
What?
While children use your head like a tetherball, weather permitting. Marcy, your tits will be consumed by snapping turtles, only for them to regrow larger every day, giving you intense back pain when you jog.
But we only robbed Jewish liquor stores.
But ultimately, the game is going out of its way to entertain you and make you laugh, and that's what matters in the end. There's not much more that you can really say about this game, though, which is why it's not higher on my list. It's exactly what it sounds like, it's exactly what it looks like, it executes it well, and it's very good at it, it just doesn't bring anything more to the table than that. Not that it necessarily needs to, but the spots higher on my list are definitely reserved for those above and beyond games. That being said, though, I would like to give this game the Best Indie Game Award for this year.
Listen, Sam, it's been a fun hour, or however long we've been here, but we really want to get out, if possible. We want to go home.
See that big mansion down the way?
The one having the party?
That's Satan's house. He throws a rager every night, invites the fucking universe, tries to keep everybody's spirits up. You see, hell's been in a bit of a low period recently. And by recently, I mean like the last 1,000 years.
You can't let this happen. 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 You can't let this happen.
Now, here is a game from the people who made both Alan Wake and Quantum Break, but it's the first time that a game that they've made is not an Xbox exclusive. Join Jessie, a weird girl with a paranormal entity attached to her. After a traumatic childhood experience with things from the other side and the disappearance of her brother, Jessie decides to get a job as the director of the same paranormal investigation bureau that ruined her childhood, as she feels it's the only way to get answers about what happened to her brother. No sooner does she show up, though, and things have already gone to hell. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it because of spoilers, but let's just say science went horribly wrong yet again. And now there are things from the other side roaming the halls and possessing employees, and it's up to you to save the day. Control, at its core, plays like a mix of all of Remedy's other games. It has the satisfying gunplay combat and the horror atmosphere of Alan Wake, the telekinetic abilities that you get near the time abilities from Quantum Break, and I've heard some people say that it even shares a few aesthetic similarities with Max Payne 2. I personally would like to throw in a little bit of classic Resident Evil as well, as the entire game takes place in one building and sees you going back and forth to and from the same locations in order to make progress. In typical Metroidvania style, at one point you may find a door that needs a keycard that you don't have yet, and it's not until hours later that you have the keycard and that you can return to the area to use it to see what was behind that door. This goes for your telekinetic abilities as well. As you travel to and fro and cleanse different areas of the Bureau, you will unlock new abilities. One of them even allows you to levitate, and when I say levitate, I mean you can basically fly. It makes a lot of previously inaccessible areas of the game now suddenly accessible and opens up all kinds of new possibilities. I would even argue it's a huge turning point for the game. This game can be hard. Even on easy, you can take a decent amount of damage from any attack, so taking cover in between your shots is definitely important. You have unlimited ammo, but your gun has a recharge, and you do get different weapons that vary in usefulness depending on the situation. The game also has fast travel, which is a very nice touch because the game may take place in one building, but it is a huge building. I'd also like to recognize this as the best action game of this year, as well as the best Xbox game. Yeah, it's not Xbox exclusive, but I bought it on the Xbox because it's a Remedy game, and it plays pretty well on it. I think that the triggers on the Xbox controller are definitely meant for a game like this.
There's no ghost. Ruined. What the?
What a beautiful little game that didn't get enough attention this year. Concrete Genie is a PlayStation exclusive indie game that sees you playing as Ash, a young man with a sketchbook, a knack for talent, and a serious case of nostalgia. The story takes place after an unseen event caused a huge spread of darkness to overtake the town that Ash lives in. A chance encounter with a drawing come to life inside a lighthouse gives Ash the power he needs to paint life back into this town via a magical paintbrush. Soon you find yourself exploring this semi-open environment and painting to your heart's content on all of the walls. Let your inner graffiti artist run wild. Granted, the game doesn't let you just draw whatever you want. Everything is predetermined on a canvas based off of these collectible pages that you pick up and give you new materials to work with. The environments and the elements behind them change depending on which area of the city you are in. After completely restoring one area and turning on all the lights, you are able to move on to the next area and do the same there. It's not just as simple as painting a bunch of mushrooms on a wall, though. You also have to create genies, creatures that you paint and draw that actually come to life and live on the wall. They move with you, they interact with the things you paint, and they help you solve puzzles so that you can move on. It sounds simple and easy enough, but there's a catch.
Hey, it's Bruce Boy!
There are bullies running around the town, and if they catch you, they will steal your paintbrush and you have to get it back. You can distract them and sneak around them, but ultimately they will be confronted as part of the narrative. That's where this game's pro-social message comes in. This beautiful 3D platformer about art and creativity is actually an anti-bullying PSA disguised as a video game, which is definitely a good thing. The only issue I have with it is that it takes the devil's advocate route by making it look like most bullies just come from a place of hurt and are actually misunderstood when that's not the case. Sometimes, people are just assholes.
Look at his stupid face.
That being said, though, I appreciate this game for taking the more pleasant route. This isn't exactly the kind of game where you want to dig deep into that philosophy. It's more akin to something like Rudolph's Christmas Special with similar character animations, a feel-good story with an important message, and a unique gameplay mechanic that really stands out. Without spoiling anything, I will say near the end of the game it takes a bit of a gameplay shift and gives you some combat abilities for what is essentially a boss rush mode. But after you beat the game, you unlock free painting, where you can just run around and vandalize buildings with unlimited bonfires to your heart's content. So that being said, this game takes home my Best Moral of the Story award for its anti-bullying PSA, and the Best Visuals award for the beautiful way it presents the images that you paint.
Looks to be your lucky day, my friend.
Please power down your engines and prepare to be...
Not likely, bootlickers. Initiate skip jump.
Now, I'm not much of a Fallout guy. I tried to play Fallout 3 and I found it very overwhelming. This game, however, sits with me just perfectly. Picture a more accessible and smaller version of Fallout mixed with the party and travel system of Mass Effect and the comedy of Borderlands, and you have The Outer Worlds. In this game, you play as a colonist that was awoken from their cryogenic sleep a bit too early and sent to a planet to find someone who you immediately kill by landing on them with your escape pod. Now, you have to assume their identity and find a new part for the ship they left behind so that you can take off and start your journey for real. But before you can get that part, you have to settle a dispute between a corporate-driven factory town of obedient slaves who were miserable but surviving, or a small community of anti-corporate rebels who live off the land and are happy but frankly struggling. You're going to have to screw over one of these civilizations by shutting down their power in order to get the part you need. It's at this point that you realize exactly what kind of game this is gonna be. Outer Worlds pulls no punches with the moral dilemmas. Every planet you visit puts you in the middle of some sort of political dispute between different factions that you will have to solve in whatever way you see fit, be that through peaceful resolution, violent war, or anything in between. Every planet you go to, you leave your mark, and you will be remembered either fondly or as a villain. At the time of writing this, there are some planets in this game I can't even land on without being immediately shot at by its citizens. But that's only one part of it. The game also sees you traveling on foot throughout most of these planets, shooting at everything that moves as you go. The dialogue, the combat, it all feels like Fallout, but easier and more accessible. Even the maps are smaller since they are confined to singular planets. This is where it has a lot in common with Mass Effect. Instead of the game taking place on one big map, it takes you to a bunch of smaller maps that you fly to via ship. You also pick up party members along your journey and collect them on your ship like living pop figures. Unfortunately, unlike Mass Effect, you can't romance any of your party members, but you can hook them up with other characters. You can also piss off your party members bad enough that they will leave you if you aren't careful or don't have a high enough determination rating to make them stay. Each party member also has a unique individual companion quest that you can do with them as well. I definitely get mild elements of Borderlands from this game as well, especially when I'm walking from place to place. I see a bunch of magenta foliage and then get attacked by a dog-looking alien or a giant praying mantis. Also, much like Borderlands, this game has a heavy focus on humor. There's a lot of comedy at capitalism's expense, but it doesn't necessarily force you to side with it, as you can take pretty much any route you want, and dialogue almost always has at least 4 or 5 different options. I mean, seriously, you can tell any quest-giving NPC to shove it. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want me to go collect 5 different shaped sticks for you? How about go fuck yourself? Also, the fact that Ashley Birch plays the first companion that you get is just icing on the cake.
Vision of the Spacer's Choice family. She worked in the Vale a few months, so her contract said any kids she had, expected or not, belonged to her office.
If you are a fan of character creation RPGs that give you the freedom to kind of dictate everything that happens in this universe, this is definitely the game for you. I'd also like to recognize it as the best RPG that I played this year.